Have you ever felt yourself thinking in circles, making choices you didn't fully understand, or reacting in ways that seemed entirely out of your control? Perhaps you've noticed habits you can't break, fears that hold you back, or decisions that seem to sabotage your own success. What if I told you that your mind has invisible patterns, dark, intricate, and powerful, that quietly guide your thoughts, feelings, and actions? These are not imaginary. They are real, subtle mechanisms embedded in the human psyche, evolved over millennia to help us survive, but often misfiring in the modern world. Today, you're about to journey into the hidden architecture of the mind, exploring the dark patterns that shape behavior, perception, and thought. Once you see them, you can begin to recognize them, understand them, and ultimately reclaim control over your own mind. The human mind is not a blank slate. It is a dynamic, complex system designed to process enormous amounts of information, make quick decisions, and protect the self. But in doing so, it relies on shortcuts, heuristics, biases, and patterns that often operate without our conscious awareness. These patterns are invisible, yet they govern nearly every choice we make, from trivial daily actions to life-altering decisions. Some patterns serve us, but others, the dark patterns, deceive us, trap us, and even manipulate us. They hide behind instincts, emotions, and learned behaviors, silently influencing how we perceive reality, interpret information, and interact with the world around us. Understanding these patterns is like peering into the mind's control room, seeing the levers that move thoughts and feelings, and recognizing when those levers have been pulled without our consent. One of the most insidious dark patterns of the mind is the illusion of control. Humans have an innate desire to feel in charge of their lives, to believe that their choices are deliberate and self-determined. Yet much of what we believe is control is nothing more than perception. Our brains are wired to detect patterns, even where none exist. This can lead to overestimating influence over outcomes, seeing causality where there is only coincidence, and misjudging the consequences of our actions. Casinos exploit this tendency with games designed to make players feel in control, while marketers use limited offers to make us act quickly. In life, this manifests in countless ways: overplanning, compulsive checking of tasks, micromanaging relationships, or stubbornly clinging to routines. Understanding the illusion of control is crucial because it allows us to see when our mind is acting on autopilot, responding to perceived power rather than actual influence. Recognizing this dark pattern gives us a chance to pause, reflect, and act with genuine awareness. Cognitive biases are shortcuts the brain takes to process information quickly. They are necessary for survival. Without them, we would be paralyzed by indecision. But they are also the source of some of the mind's darkest patterns. Biases distort perception, memory, and judgment, making us susceptible to errors in thinking. Take confirmation bias, for example. We tend to seek, interpret, and remember information that confirms our existing beliefs, while ignoring contradictory evidence. This bias keeps us trapped in cycles of thought, reinforcing fears, prejudices, and false narratives. Anchoring bias is another. Our first exposure to a number, opinion, or concept sets a reference point that colors all subsequent judgments, often irrationally. These mental shortcuts are not inherently evil. They are survival tools. But when left unchecked, they guide decisions, cloud reasoning, and perpetuate misunderstandings. The dark side emerges when biases operate invisibly, shaping behavior and beliefs without conscious oversight. Beneath every thought lies an emotion, and beneath every action, a hidden emotional driver. Fear, desire, shame, guilt, and longing are powerful forces that the mind often disguises as rational reasoning. Humans are emotional beings first and rational beings second, which is why we frequently justify decisions with logic long after the emotional impulse has taken hold. Fear is perhaps the most powerful dark pattern, triggering avoidance, procrastination, and defensive behaviors. Desire, on the other hand, drives us toward pleasure, social approval, and status, sometimes at the expense of long-term well-being. Guilt and shame can chain behavior, keeping us in cycles of self-sabotage or compliance. Recognizing the emotional roots of behavior is essential to understanding the mind's hidden architecture. When we misread emotion as reason, we unknowingly allow these dark patterns to dictate our choices. Habits are another core dark pattern. What begins as a survival mechanism, repetition reduces cognitive load and conserves mental energy, can transform into chains that limit freedom. Habits operate largely unconsciously, repeating learned behaviors without deliberation. From the morning routines we follow mindlessly to the ways we react to stress, habits are powerful forces shaping our lives. Some habits are positive, but the dark patterns emerge when habits are harmful, unexamined, or self-sabotaging. Breaking free requires conscious recognition, deliberate effort, and an understanding of the triggers, routines, and rewards that sustain these patterns. Until we illuminate them, habits remain invisible puppeteers, moving us through life with minimal awareness. The human mind has a natural bias toward negativity, an evolutionary safeguard designed to keep us alert to threats. This negativity bias ensures we pay attention to danger, but in modern life, it can trap us in cycles of worry, self-doubt, and rumination. Thoughts become dark patterns when repeated unchecked, shaping emotions, behavior, and even physical health. The mind can replay imagined disasters, exaggerate failures, and catastrophize minor setbacks, creating a self-reinforcing loop. Recognizing the bias toward negative thinking is the first step toward escaping its grip. Mindfulness, cognitive reframing, and awareness can help break these cycles, transforming dark thought patterns into conscious, productive reflection. Humans believe they perceive reality as it is, but perception is never neutral. Every observation is filtered through prior experiences, beliefs, and expectations. This means the mind constantly constructs reality, often unknowingly shaping facts to fit narratives. This dark pattern explains why two people can witness the same event and interpret it entirely differently. It also explains our susceptibility to persuasion, propaganda, and misinformation. The illusion of objectivity is powerful because it masks bias as truth. By acknowledging that perception is subjective, we regain the ability to critically evaluate our thoughts, question assumptions, and approach situations with a more balanced perspective. Much of the mind's dark architecture lies beneath conscious awareness. The subconscious stores memories, fears, desires, and learned behaviors, influencing decisions without our knowledge. Automatic reactions, gut feelings, and inexplicable impulses are often subconscious programming in action. This shadow realm shapes preferences, prejudices, and social behaviors. People are rarely aware of these forces, which is why understanding the subconscious is central to understanding the mind's dark patterns. Once illuminated, these hidden scripts can be modified, redirected, and integrated into conscious choice, freeing the individual from unconscious control. Fear is the mind's most ancient driver. It manifests as avoidance, aggression, procrastination, or overcaution. Fear triggers survival instincts that can become maladaptive in modern contexts. For example, social fear may lead to isolation, while financial fear can prevent risk-taking and growth. Fear often disguises itself as reason, making decisions seem rational when they are in reality defensive. Recognizing fear as the underlying force allows for conscious intervention, acknowledging the emotion, questioning its validity, and responding with intentional action rather than reflex. Emotionally ingrained patterns often become dark habits, repeating automatically across contexts. Anger, jealousy, anxiety, or avoidance can become chronic, forming loops that reinforce themselves over time. These emotional habits are invisible until examined carefully. They operate silently, dictating reactions to people, situations, and events. Therapy, self-reflection, and deliberate practice are tools to recognize and disrupt these dark emotional cycles, enabling conscious emotional regulation and healthier behavioral patterns. Cognitive distortions are mental filters that twist reality. Common examples include catastrophizing, overgeneralization, personalization, and black and white thinking. These patterns distort perception, reinforce negative emotion, and limit rational action. For example, someone who overgeneralizes may see a single failure as a reflection of their entire worth. These distortions are subtle, persistent, and automatic, shaping experience and behavior without awareness. Recognizing and challenging cognitive distortions is essential to reclaim clarity, rationality, and emotional balance. The mind is highly susceptible to social influence, which can activate dark patterns at a collective level. Humans evolve to conform, seek approval, and detect social hierarchies. These tendencies are adaptive in tribes, but exploitable in modern society. Advertisers, leaders, and manipulators often tap into these vulnerabilities, using scarcity, authority, and peer pressure to guide behavior unconsciously. Awareness of social influence is critical to avoiding manipulation, making informed decisions, and maintaining authentic agency. Humans are masters of self-deception. The mind protects itself by distorting reality, rationalizing behavior, and hiding uncomfortable truths. People convince themselves of narratives that maintain self-esteem or reduce cognitive dissonance, even when those narratives are false or harmful. This dark pattern preserves comfort but limits growth. Self-awareness and honest introspection are necessary to uncover these hidden layers, confront the truth, and regain alignment between perception, values, and action. Perhaps the most profound dark pattern of all is the illusion of freedom. We believe our choices are autonomous, yet they are shaped by subconscious biases, learned patterns, social pressures, and emotional drivers. Freedom is rarely absolute. It is constrained by invisible forces within the mind itself. Recognizing these constraints is not disheartening, it is liberating. Understanding how the mind works allows us to regain conscious agency, make deliberate choices, and transcend the patterns that previously controlled us. The first step toward reclaiming control is awareness. Awareness illuminates the dark patterns, making the invisible visible. From there, conscious effort, reflection, and practice are necessary. Techniques like mindfulness, journaling, cognitive restructuring, and emotional regulation allow individuals to reshape thought and behavior. Awareness alone does not guarantee freedom, but without it, the mind remains a labyrinth of invisible chains. By confronting dark patterns with insight and discipline, the individual can transform fear into courage, confusion into clarity, and automatic reaction into conscious action. The mind is a powerful, intricate system, capable of remarkable insight and terrible deception. Dark patterns are not signs of weakness, they are survival tools that have evolved over time, often misapplied in modern life. Every fear, habit, bias, and distortion has a purpose, but unchecked, they obscure reality and limit potential. Recognizing, understanding, and working with these patterns is the key to self-mastery. The journey is not about eliminating all dark patterns, it is about illuminating them, integrating awareness, and choosing consciously. The mind is not your enemy, it is a landscape to be explored, understood, and guided. By exploring these dark patterns, we gain insight into human behavior, decision-making, and emotion. We see that we are not random creatures, but organisms guided by complex systems shaped by evolution, experience, and unconscious wiring. The better we understand these systems, the more effectively we navigate life, relationships, and our own potential. Knowledge of dark patterns is empowerment. It allows us to anticipate mental traps, respond with intention, and break free from invisible chains. In this awareness lies the power to transform our minds and ultimately our lives. Thank you for watching. If this exploration of the mind's dark patterns helped you see yourself or the world more clearly, take a moment to reflect on your own mental habits. Awareness is the first step toward mastery. Every insight you gain today can change how you think, act, and respond tomorrow. Remember, the mind is not your enemy, it is a landscape to be explored, understood, and guided. By learning the hidden patterns, you take the first step toward freedom, clarity, and self-mastery. Thank you for taking this journey into the mind. Your curiosity, reflection, and courage are what make true understanding possible.